Joseph J. Williams, professor at University of Toronto, and you focus on human and computer interaction. Geoffrey Hinton, Dr. Geoffrey Hinton, recently won the Nobel Prize for Physics. You and him have interacted in the past, and I've learned that his research has had a fundamental impact on your particular career path and research. So tell us a bit more about your research and what you're doing these days.
Yeah, so I would say I do human computer interactions, the study of how do you design technology to help people. So I do artificial intelligence and human computer interaction and psychology. So what that means is that the kind of questions I tell my PhD students, just like yesterday in the lab, was every time you propose an idea, I want to know how could 8 billion people use this? For example, they were using AI like ChatGPT to come up with ways to help people procrastinate less. So everyone's hearing about AI, right? They're excited about it, they're afraid of it. How do we actually make sure it's helping, not hurting humanity? So an example of that would be we build systems. Like you can all go online now and use ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever you want. But we actually build systems on top of that that will teach you how to use them well. So one of my students, Ananya Bhattacharjee, who's going to be a faculty member applying for postdocs, he built a system where you could actually come up with messages to help you stop procrastinating. So if you think about procrastination, right? You all might be procrastinating by watching this video right now instead of doing something else. You might be scrolling on LinkedIn or news. And so what are the magic words we can say to you to get you to stop procrastinating? Because you say things to yourself, right? You're like, oh gosh, I shouldn't be doing this. How do I get myself to stop? And so we actually built a system where we combine AI with a human touch. So we had clinical psychologists and decades of research on how to get people to stop procrastinating, design some examples of messages, and then we'd actually ask people to specify to the AI, what's going on now? Is it that you are preparing for a presentation and you just keep checking email? Are you putting off a difficult conversation? And then using the context of what they said, combined with clinical psychology and the AI, we'd actually come up with messages they could send to themselves. Does that give a sense of how people could use it? Yeah.
Yeah, so you're saying you could pinpoint an exact response as to why I'm procrastinating in that moment, not just the generic procrastination sort of phrase to help me to break that pattern. Am I receiving that correctly?
So you can try and take that approach of figuring out what's the message I have to say to you right then and there, but research has not been so successful that because it's hard to know what someone's doing exactly there. So we actually try and get the best of all worlds. We come up with messages that generally help. For example, one reason people procrastinate is actually out of fear. You don't realize it's actually an emotional problem because you feel like, I'm not going to do a good job on this. Or you feel like, I put this off for so long, I'm embarrassed about having delayed this, and you're kind of afraid of facing that fact. So you can't pinpoint exactly what's going on in someone's head. That's something people might say they can do it. I haven't seen anyone do it yet. What you can do is you can help them share their context, like the presentation, and combine that with the principles that we know help in general, and then use AI to basically craft messages that will help them in that moment. So the goal is not to know what's going on in their head. They know what's going on in their head. We give them a message that will then help them get motivated and take action. For example, start a timer right now for 1 minute. And for that 1 minute, do the thing you're dreading, and then afterwards you can procrastinate all you like. Or sometimes we're putting things off because we feel like we can't do them. What's one tiny thing you can do to get yourself rolling? So those examples and messages that we'll come up with, and we'll adjust them based on someone's context. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you all could use the app, just go to my website, josephjwilliams.com/papers. It's one of the top papers, I think. It's called like Spark. The name of the system is called Spark. It's basically understanding the role of large language models in personalizing and scaffolding strategies to combat procrastination. And there's a whole system you could use.
I could use this.
Exactly. Next time you're procrastinating, go and read that paper, and we actually have a link to the demo, so you can actually use the demo itself.
Fantastic. Can you talk a bit more about what is human-computer interaction and why that's actually important for what people are doing today?
That's a great question, actually. So I think human-computer interaction is something that you're all doing right now without realizing it, right?
Okay.
Human-computer interaction, I think, includes psychology. It means basically, whenever we're doing something with human beings, how do we come up with interventions? Intervention is a way of impacting people's behavior. So right now, me talking to you is intervention. Because something I say to you might excite you, it might annoy you, it might change you in some way. So everything we do is intervention. Everything we say, every action we take is intervention. And so human interaction, I see as how do we actually design these interventions to help people? And so it uses processes like experimentation. Like I focus on A/B experiments. So think about every action in life. Like what I just said to you. Hey Mark, stop procrastinating, you'll feel better after. That's message A. But message B could have been, I could have been real Caribbean about it. Mark, what the hell are you doing? Stop procrastinating and get up now. And so that's an A/B test, right? What's that?
Yes. I said that might have worked.
Well, that's an A/B test, right? And we have C and D. So that's a technique from human-computer interaction and other fields that will actually test out different ideas to see the impact on you. So it's all about the science of how we design interventions, communication, actions within technology, but also without, right? Because human beings will say things to each other.
One thing that happened in the chat GPT revolution, which I don't maybe think a lot of people appreciate, is they built a really good system, not necessarily an AI model. So can you talk about what people need to be thinking of when building AI systems versus developing an AI model alone?
That's a great distinction, because like what Geoff won the Nobel Prize for was come with algorithms that let us build things like GPT. They're called LLMs, large language models, right? Those are AI models, right? That's a nice term for it actually. But an AI system is what we're going to interact with. When you go to GPT and start typing in, that's an AI system. And it's a tool. There's a user interface. When I teach my class, I actually tell them, I see ChatGPT blowing up as not as just an AI success. I see it as a user interface success, a human-computer interaction success. Because what they did is they made it so easy. You just go and start typing in, and all of a sudden you can actually interact with this AI bot, right? And so what we try to do is actually think of what is the system everyone needs, right? For your particular purpose. And there's so many exciting cases. So for example, one of my other students, Mohi Reza and Nathan Laundry and others, they built a system called AB Scribe. So I have a question for you all. Do you all write emails? Do you write text messages? Yes. And now some people are using AI to do it, right? But they complain that the AI loses its human touch, right? It just dumps things. So the system that my students built, basically as easy as writing email in a Google Doc, you start typing email and you can select a line like the subject and you can say, AI, give me 3 versions of this. Make one be for someone who, doesn't like to read much. Make one be for someone who wants to get excited in the email. Make one be for someone who prefers a more professional tone. And it will generate those versions. And then you can actually take the versions from the AI and you compare them side by side. It's like a second. The interface makes it easy, right? You're not kind of fighting up with ChatGPT and getting lost. You can actually just, in the context email, toggle, press a button, A, B, C, D. Then what can you do? You can actually add a human touch by editing your own version to make F, G, H. So what it gives you is a way to actually A/B test using AI where you get different versions and then you actually can modify it to what you want. And you can think it through. You can think, if I send this to Mark right now, if I send this to Joseph, if I send this to Sally, which version will work for them? Does that make sense? How it kind of takes the human touch into it, lets you think like a scientist, like what do I want to design and what could the impact be? And you can show it to other people and get the feedback.
At that stage, right? You become a super editor.
A super editor, that's a great way to say. You're a super editor. And AI is not here to replace you, in my opinion. AI is here to augment you, to be a super editor, exactly. AI doesn't become the generator editor instead of you. You are going to be the super generator and super editor with AI helping you.
Fantastic. And how much more successful do you think people paying attention to human-computer interaction paradigms will be when they design AI systems? And if so, if it's very important, what would be the top 3 things that someone needs to be thinking about from a human-computer interaction perspective that will help them build a better AI system?
That's a good point. I think you put your finger on it. We need to involve humans in AI. Everyone says that. But how exactly do we do that? I mean, you all can come and take my course if you want, but every university has professors in human interaction, so look those things up, right? I think those will be key because, again, a lot of the challenge I think we're hitting now to get AI to help people, right, are actually human interaction challenges. How do I use this thing? Give me some instructions. You might have a great set of ideas, but I need to see an example of it. So what are 3 things we could do to improve that? I'll just share what I teach in my class, right? One of the homework assignments I give them is actually for them to use AI to actually draft emails to people to learn about jobs. They're graduating. And so one thing I have them do is they actually have to use this A/B scribe tool to come up with different versions. So I would say that kind of A/B testing is the one thing I would start with, which is whenever you do something, just think to yourself, how could it be different, right? So instead of saying, hey Mark, I hear you do podcasting, I'm interested in that as a career given my undergrad. That's version A. Write it down and use A/B scribe and have version B next to it. Hey Mark, podcasting seems interesting. What do you find most interesting about it? And make a version C. Mark, someone told me I should go into podcasting. What's your thoughts on that? Do you see how we're basically A/B testing ABC, ways of communicating and writing them out? Now, what's step 2? Step 2 is to start getting data. Show it to people. Something like A/B scribe lets you show side by side, right? This is what we do in all our 80 papers on our website. Show them to people and get their opinions, qualitatively. Like, you have to ask the right questions, right? That's what human interaction is about. How would you feel if you saw this? How would you change this? What about this would get you working in a productive way? What would backfire? But here's the hard part. You can't just take people at their word, right? Because people tell you all kinds of things, but you have to look at the actual behavior. So that's why we do these A/B experiments, like we deploy them with thousands of people. And we want to make that easier. So we want an X Prize, like $1 million X Prize, for basically our infrastructure for A/B testing with AI to allow anyone to A/B test. Because you want to be able to deploy it to people. So an example would be, when you send those emails, look and see if people actually click on the link. If you put a link in there like, Mark, here's some information about me, you could learn more. Or do you open the email at all? So one of my PhD students, Angela Zavlet, who will be a faculty member soon, she actually did a bunch of research where she would take an email, simplest email you could imagine, like, students, please start your homework early. And she would design dozens of versions and then see who opened the email, who clicked on the link to start the work early, who actually did the homework. So that kind of A/B testing lets you know which behaviors impact. I think the 4th thing, can I add a 4th?
No, you're good, you're good.
Actually, I've been told I have to slow down, Just say Obama anytime you want me to slow down, because apparently Obama used to talk real fast. He slowed down and look where it got him. So in my class and lab, students would just yell at Obama randomly, and then I know, take a breath, Joseph, enjoy the conversation, just dial it back. So I'll Obama myself. So the 4th element, and this is a talk I'm giving in November, is how do we actually use AI and A/B testing to personalize and contextualize? So I feel like the misconception we all have, and I have it too, it's hard to fight, is there's a best way to do things. Think of when you meet someone, hi, how are you? We always say the same thing, hi, how are you? How are you? But tell me something, try an experiment today. Hey, what are you excited about this week? Hey, is there anything you want to share that's annoying you? Hey, what have you really enjoyed since we last talked? This is a case where we're trying to A/B test because we might personalize. You might find that some people are just like the hi, how are you? Because they've always done it. Some people are like, that's a really nice prompt. What am I really feeling good about this week? But that might work for you, Mark. But tomorrow I might ask you the same question. You're like, actually, Joseph, I just have to vent. I had a rough Sunday. I thought I was going to enjoy myself and it was a huge pain. So then a question like, hey, what's on your mind you want to share? Do you kind of see how now that 4th element of human computer interaction, which AI can help a lot with in generating ideas, right? Allows you to kind of A/B test how to personalize to the person in front of you, but also contextualize. Like even you will want something different based on your context from today to tomorrow. So I think to wrap that all up, basically, if you want to go from just the AI models, right, the algorithms that Geoff was super influential in developing and contributing to actually the systems that people are going to use, you know what bothers me? We have 8 billion people on this planet, and I really worry I'm going to die. And so I'd be morbid, I'm going to, or I have a certain amount of time. I want to help as many of them as I can before we go, right? That stresses me out and also excites me. Could we please give people things that will help them? Like, I don't want people, to just be losing their jobs or to be AI is being used to make Instagram and TikTok addictive? Can we use AI to help people? Can we help you figure out how to say something to your friend when you all are having an argument? Can we help you get in the habit of like complimenting your friends, right? Instead of just keeping it quiet because you're worried they'll be like patronized. Can we give interfaces that help people use AI to improve everyday life? That's what I really want to see happen.
Yes, indeed. So you talked about, I guess early on you did interact with Geoffrey Hinton, and now you are an AI professor. So tell us about
applied
some
AI
of the
professor.
interactions.
Yeah. The interactions,
Yes.
yeah. Well, so here's the thing. So Geoff, when I was an undergrad, I did my undergrad at U of T, right? So my trajectories, I'm from Trinidad. Well, you know that, Mark,
Yeah.
but people are already wondering, who's this person, this European here? I'm from Trinidad, everyone, like Mark. And I came to U of T, University of Toronto for my undergrad. And then I went to Berkeley for PhD, then postdoc at Stanford, research scientist at Harvard, first professor position in Singapore, and then back here for my other professor position. Same department as Geoff, right? So let me tell you, first time I met Geoff, right? I went to a machine learning course. It's on the first floor of our building, right? And back then in 2006, Geoff wasn't the big shot he was today. It was a tiny class, 30, 40 people, and we were all just, relaxing and hanging out and getting to know him. And so I took this class and I was like, wow, this is exciting. And Geoff, as you might see, is very entertaining instructor. So I remember once Geoff was playing a demo where he had a neural network, had been trained to sing the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Geoff must have seen this 1,000 times. But what was he doing? I was watching him. The whole time, Geoff was looking at the screen and he was singing the alphabet too. A, B, he was singing it with the neural network, like he was trying to coax it along or something, He was just so excited that they had figured out to do this thing, right? So I told Geoff, I love these assignments, I love this work. However, I want to do something with actually machine learning and people, and psychology and human interaction. And he said, well, go and look up these people. So he told me who to look up for grad school, right? And then I contacted them and actually did my PhD with one of them, right? So Geoff was I told my grad students actually, when this Nobel came through, I said, listen, you all actually don't realize you owe Geoff twice, right? For all the work you do, all the projects you all are doing on AI for social good. Because I have PhD students who are doing AI for mental health, right? When you're stressed, how does an AI that will send you text messages to ask you the questions that will help you manage stress? I have grad students in education, grad students who are doing all kinds of other projects, right? Anything where you want to change people's behavior and help them, we do that. I said, listen, you all don't realize this is a big deal for you. Because one is Geoff and others worked on the algorithms that we can use in large language models like ChatGPT. But also, I want to go on to do my PhD in a human plus AI field. And you wouldn't be here doing a PhD with me if it wasn't for that, right? So I told Geoff that when I saw him on Thursday, right? I was like, yeah, thanks so much, Geoff. This is the impact you've had. And I think that kind of impact is special because I was on a trajectory, right? When you are 20 or 19, you don't know what's going on, right? And I was going this trajectory and he kind of pointed me somewhere else, right? If it wasn't for him with that necessary condition, I might not be on the path I am today. I mean, doing something else, right?
Yeah. Did you think he sort of knew that he would get to this level back then? Because those guys early on, they really held to what they believed, and it's very interesting to see sort of where it panned out.
That's a really good point. I don't think so. I think so. Again, in those days, 2006, right? Even as things moved along, right? It was really only when computing power got big that these things blew up, right? And at least I can't speak for Geoff. Maybe he knew that, but I didn't think so. I didn't expect that to happen, right? And I think that there's an interesting message there, right, for us, which is Geoff was very firmly focused on what he thought was interesting and important, right? And that was definitely something he was very courageous about doing, right? He would push through that. But if you all want to know, like, what can you learn from that success? What is it? I've heard people say, don't give up on your dreams and so on. But I don't actually know that that's the best advice for people. We are not all Geoff. If you want to replicate Geoff's success, you probably can't be like him, right? I think that there's a couple things. One is you want to strategically choose an area that other people don't think is that good. But you know from experimental evidence, from not because you believe it in your head, but there's reason to believe it's very impactful. And I think that's what Geoff did, right? I remember Geoff saying to me, when I was in office hours once, he said, there are times when colleagues of mine, for them, the fact that your algorithm had a real number in it was proof it wasn't good, right? And he didn't see thought that that approach could actually have value. So what I would say to people is, if you want to kind of be innovative there, the thing I tell my grad students is, if you want to be in the top 5% of something, 5% at helping people, innovations, communicating, why do you limit yourself to what 95% of people do? We all look at what people around us do and try to do more of it. That's how we accept, is this a good idea or bad idea? But again, if you do what everyone else is doing, you're not going to be in the top 5%. You won't be creating breakthroughs people can use, right? And I would actually strongly recommend, there's a book by Adam Grant. If you'll Google Adam Grant Originals, How Nonconformists Move the World. That book has very concrete examples from randomized controlled trials and studies of how to be innovative in everyday life. And so what I tell my PhD students now, actually a fun story, if I can share. In 2020, I made a Google Doc in my lab and I said, everyone, I want you all to think big. And not just big, grandiose, right? But I want you all to think about what you can do that can actually help change the world concretely. So I said to them, okay, we do experimentation, like A/B experiments, to figure out, help people make better decisions. You know, does message A or B help me stop procrastinating? Does email A or B get people to, you know, get off the smartphone, like what my grad student Nathan Laundrie does, and actually, you know, start the homework, like what Angela Zavaleta and others do. So we started to work on adaptive A/B experiments, which an adaptive A/B experiment is, when you do an experiment, how do you change it over time? By seeing what the data is telling you. So it's not the traditional view where you just give A or B for like months. You know, in minutes, you might give A and B and then be like, actually, let's try C. Oh, C is looking interesting, let's try more of it. So you kind of analyze data in real time so that you can give people what's looking good, and you can also test ideas more quickly. Does that make sense of what adaptive A/B test is?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So just so you all know, you know why Instagram's so addictive? Adaptive A/B testing, and also traditional A/B testing. You know why TikTok? These tech companies are making billions of dollars on A/B testing and adaptive A/B testing. But I told my students, listen, I want you all to bring this into science, right? I want to change the way scientists run experiments so they can do experiments in the real world, in the apps we built for mental health that 10,000 people have used, in the experiments we run in education, where we got, you know, thousands of other students at U of T and Carnegie Mellon everywhere to do it, Georgia State. I want you all to do adaptive A/B tests. And I said, let's be very concrete. What work can you all do that will help someone get a Nobel Prize? And in 2020, it's economics. So Susan Athey is someone who we work with. And I said, I don't care about Nobel Prize myself, maybe for you all or whoever, but I want us to do Nobel Prize level research. I want us to do work that could get Susan Athey a Nobel Prize, right? And what does that involve? It involves running experiments where we put them into the real world. We use artificial intelligence to figure out, you know, what are we experimenting with? How do we involve human beings in designing the messages to get people to exercise? That's an AI study we just published, actually. And then how do we use AI to analyze the data? And so I said, let's focus on that. In 2023, we came across Alan Asper-Guzik, who's at Toronto. You can Google him. He has a $200 million consortium for chemistry and experimentation. I said, okay, now we have two shots at this, okay? And I've been very quiet about this because I didn't want to be, you know, push it out. I felt a bit embarrassed, but I was pushing my grad student, and they didn't quite believe me, and that's fine. So you know what I said? On Monday, I talked to my class and I said, everyone, let's be entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs will drop what they're doing and change direction because they see an opportunity. And so I said, you know what, finally, on Monday, I just posted. I just said, I feel dumb doing it, it's too much, but I'll do it anyway. On Monday night, I said, everyone, on Friday, I'm giving a talk in the math department. And it's on Nobel Prize level research. How do we do Nobel Prize level research? By doing adaptive experiments that can actually help people, the same way Instagram is using adaptive experiments to get you to click. How can we help people be addicted to mental health resources or compelled to use mental health in education? How can we change science? Get economists and chemistry researchers and psychologists and human interaction running experiments. Let's actually change the way people run experiments, make it easier for them so they can make decisions with data instead of just intuitions. And I posted on Monday. And for sure, some colleagues are like, nah, Joseph, that's ridiculous. My students are like, whatever. Do you know what happened Tuesday morning? Tuesday morning, I was in the F45 doing a gym class, and my colleague says, Geoff just won a Nobel Prize. I said, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. And I'm so glad I posted that thing, brash as it was, before that came out, because all of a sudden now people are like, nah, that's not possible. And one of my colleagues messaged me, Joseph, I stand corrected. Computer scientists can't win Nobel Prizes. So I was so excited about this because I want to inspire my students to do things that are big, right? And there's a classic thing in science and innovation where you can ask someone, what's the biggest thing in your field right now? And they can tell you. Then they can say, then you're like, why aren't you working on it? We know often what are the big ideas that are happening. It might be someone else's idea, right? But we don't work on it. So I'm hoping that this buzz will get my students thinking, I can do Nobel Prize level research, or at least I can contribute to it. Get Susan Athia Nobel Prize, get Alan Asperger's, get someone in medicine, Susan Murphy, you can Google her, or Sophia Villar, for like adaptive experiments to change the way we do work. So my hope is that this will inspire them to do that. And also for us to prioritize. Don't get distracted by all those other things, but really focus on like, how are we gonna help people by bringing science into the real world and letting scientists run experiments so that when we're deciding, how do I explain a concept in class? Or how do I send a text to my friend who's kind of stressed? Or how do I brighten up someone's day with an email? We could actually use adaptive A/B testing to test our intuitions, to involve AI in giving us ideas, but also use AI to discover what's actually going to work for this person at this moment in time. So that's what I'm hoping comes out of this, you know?
You said a couple of things that stuck out to me. But one, I'm not 100% sure that most people know that the reason that ChatGPT works really well is because of A/B experimentation in reinforcement learning with human feedback. You need a human to determine was option A better than option B. And so I wanted to call that point out.
That's a great point. Thank you for emphasizing that. Actually, you're right.
Yeah, we're only here because of A/B experimentation. Otherwise, none of these AI systems or models would do really well. And I imagine for the fine-tuning loop or the next training loop, they are running experiments, because now I also see you get a suggestion. Which output did you like? Did you like this one? Did you like that one?
Yes. When I saw that, I was like, finally, yes.
So they're actively testing, and getting you to be a contributor to these systems now. And the other thing on adaptive A/B experimentation systems, I think now with LLMs, is before a human would have to come up with the different trials that you were to test. Now you can have these expert generative models come up with those different types of variations. Are you seeing that happening more and more now?
I think so. So when you say variations, what do you mean by variations?
So for instance, I run A and B for the next 2 days, and I observe the results, but I now want to run A and a different variation other than B. I now run C, but C is now generated by some other AI system based on maybe something in B wasn't working.
Yes.
Are you seeing stuff like that happening?
I see. So yes and no. It's happening too much and it's happening too little. So I actually posted a LinkedIn post. If you look me up on LinkedIn, Joseph J. Williams, I posted for my class. My class actually did a little video and we posted online. And they were discussing this exactly, Obama. That yes, people are using A/B testing. But I think that it's not about are you doing it or not. It's not about whether you do it or not. Yes, of course. Anytime you have to make decisions, A, B, or C, you're going to do something like A/B testing. It's when are you doing it and how are you doing it. So what I would say is, I want to honestly be like, why did it take ChatGPT so long to start giving us options? Like, that's too long. Like, from the first day, they could have been doing that. For the first day, I was like, why are they not A/B testing these options? So just so everyone knows, when you're in ChatGPT now and you ask for a question, it will sometimes give you options and see which one you like more, right? So why was that not happening from day one, right? I had to write a custom GPT for myself where I would actually now, my answers always give me two versions, right? I say, give me your answer, then generate a prompt based on what I said and give me a second answer. But they could be doing it more often in more places. They could also be A/B testing the interface, right? Like, there's so much that they can do around it that there's not necessarily happening. So I don't want to kind of say, like, people are too quick to say, oh, I do A/B testing. Yes, sure. But are you doing it as well as you could be, as often as you could be? And are you using experts? For example, who's very good at A/B testing? Do you know what Geoff did his PhD in? Experimental psychology. Carefully controlled lab experiments. Yeah, that's what his PhD is in.
Oh.
You could look up his thesis. I think he recommended me his thesis when I was in his class. I can't remember what it was about. I think it was about something about word learning. But anyway, you could look it up. But experimental psychologists in every department across the world, right? They specialize in designing A/B experiments. So look up Katie Milkman at Wharton and Angela Duckworth. There are tons of them, right? They specialize in designing really good A/B tests. Some A/B tests, will give you the results and mislead you. Some A/B tests, you won't even think about. Some A/B tests win Nobel Prizes. Daniel Kahneman, Nobel Prize in Economics, right? Those A/B tests, comparing experiments, won Nobel Prizes. How do you know which are good? Get experts in the area, and experimental psychologists are one source of expertise, but what my lab focuses on A/B testing is trying to pull together many groups. We have PhD students in statistics, in psychology, who are cognitive psychologists, social psychologists. We include human-computer interaction people. We include artificial intelligence. So I think we actually have to do A/B tests way better than we're doing them now. I think that people from real-world settings, we include clinical psychologists, instructors, the industries like, marketing that have insights, but it's not enough to just do it. You have to really follow a good process. And that's what we've kind of tried to create, right? A process where you take a problem like text messaging that you get every day, make that an intelligent agent that will actually keep A/B testing options by crowdsourcing from many different experts, and then using AI, specifically reinforcement learning, to figure out what's going to work for who when. So I think that's what we got the X Prize for. I think people really need to think about what method they're using, and that's what we're developing techniques. We want to help people do this better.
Wow. So to round this off, you knew Geoffrey Hinton before he was Geoffrey Hinton.
Okay, okay. Uh-huh.
Right? And now that you've seen what his life's work has culminated to, not everyone is going to win a Nobel Prize. I do like the fact that you're guiding folks towards that. And you're also calling out, let's also think like entrepreneurs, because most researchers can't be entrepreneurs, because if you abandon the research you've been doing for the last 15 years, it's almost as if, you fell off a cliff. What has this Nobel Prize opened up in your mind for how you are going to do your research moving forward?
It's a good question. How has it changed the way I'm doing my research moving forward, right? I think that it is making me focus much more on what we were doing in terms of developing like these algorithms for adaptive experiments and new statistical tests, is putting more resources on that, like getting every grad student to kind of do at least some of their work there and actually spend some time making sure they all understand it, because you can't help but like get excited about things and go after this shiny object or that, but I'm really trying to be much more focused on actually that topic. So reminding all the grad students, prompting them to focus on that, because I think that I'm realizing that to have the kind of impact you want to help hundreds of thousands of people, we've got to really focus on this part. It's making me, for my sabbatical next year, there's a year you get off, you can work in different universities or companies. I'm trying to find companies that will let me laser focus on bringing these methods we have, these tools that won the X Prize for A/B testing at scale with crowdsourcing and reinforcement learning, and also qualitative data, right? Like, we're trying to take those and find companies that are like, we want to run this. We want to steal your ideas, Joseph, and make tons of money off of them. As long as they're doing it to help the world in some way, and as long as they're sharing the knowledge, that's what I'm focusing on. So really trying to like emphasize much more, we've got this knowledge, we've done all this great work, but people can't use it if they don't know about it. So trying to see which companies are going to be most actually turn this into real products and share this with other people. And then third is, so one, focus, all the grad students kind of moving towards these and really exciting them and prompting and repeating. One thing that Geoff's student said is that instead of, as a Geoff student, you can just come to a meeting and pitch an idea. You come to a meeting and Geoff will be like, hey, here's an idea, here's why it's cool, here's another idea. So he will kind of pitch you ideas. So I'm gonna feel a bit more empowered to do that, like pitch my students ideas, because I think that they can take my ideas way farther than I can, but I think I'm doing them a service if I share what I've seen, right? Could actually have Nobel Prize level impact, help hundreds of thousands of people, change what scientists do every day in the lab. So I think pitching more ideas and focusing my grad students. Second is identifying which companies will actually take this and commercialize like the software we built, the process we have. But third also is I'm writing a book now. I'm writing a series of books which are meant to be helping everyone using experimentation. And this is how I'm gonna get knowledge out, I hope. So one of them right now is actually called the Book of Prompts. So instead of a book where it's long and you get tired, every chapter is just 500 words. I actually put it on Instagram and TikTok if you want to follow me and see it on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Question: how can I do an experiment today to be a bit happier? That's the prompt. Answer: one answer could be, stop and think about what you're grateful for 30 seconds. Answer 2 could be message someone else who you know that you're thinking about them and you're glad they're around. Message 3 could be go to GPT right now and ask for 10 things you can say to yourself based on cognitive behavior therapy and the positive psychology that will help you recognize that, you know, life is good, even if there are tough times. So you kind of see the structure, right? Every chapter is like a question. How do I be happier today? How do I connect with people? How to be more productive? And then we actually have different answers, and we actually do A/B testing on the answers. So you could see the answers, see which ones are helpful, ask for more, or you can suggest your own. So my kind of hope now is like, if in terms of thinking big, that actually producing these books and this posting online will actually help people take what's in science but kind of buried or in ways that they don't understand. And you know what I love about it is when I show this to people, they will explain it back in their own words. They'll give me a version B of what I've said. And their version B often will teach me something new. Because now I can see, oh, that's how they explain it. Those are the words that work for them. And so I can actually kind of constantly be experimenting for different audiences. So I can personalize and contextualize it.
Wow, fantastic. Well, it was a pleasure doing this quick chat, and we'll definitely have a much longer chat coming up soon.
For sure. And if people want, I want to prompt everyone listening, what do you all take away from this? Like, what is interesting? Like, if you had to tell someone else, what do you learn from this? A/B tested, what would you send? In a text message, on LinkedIn, in some other way?
You should A/B test for romance. That's really important.
And what would you all do differently? Like, will you kind of like share this with people and discuss it? Will you think of how you can use AI for social good? Will you try and think of A/B testing every day, like how you communicate to people? I just want to know, like, how could this help you? Because that would be a huge return for me.
Oh, so you're actually A/B testing right now?
You know? Always, we never stop it.
I like that. That's a nice shirt. Always be A/B testing. You know, like always be closing, like ABCs.
I like that.
testing.
Always be A/B testing. Oh, I like that. Okay, I'm gonna use that now. I'll make a little shirt.
That's gonna be a shirt. Well, it was a pleasure. I enjoyed the conversation.
All right, have a great day, everyone, and remember, always be A/B testing. Message me and tell me the A/B test you're on today.
Cool. All right.
Bye.
Let's do this. All right. So stay online. Let's make sure this uploads on your side and my side. So you should finish uploading